Hi, all, and welcome to part one of Texas Folklife's 2023 Apprenticeship Program Virtual Showcase. I'm Marco Guarino, the Program Coordinator for Texas Folklife's Apprenticeships in the Folk and Traditional Arts Program. Thank you so much for joining us. Since 1987, the Apprenticeship Program has supported the training of hundreds of folk and traditional artists throughout the state, and each year, Texas Folklife provides $3,000 awards to 8 artist mentors, ensuring the opportunity for them to equitably offer one-on-one training in art, cultural, or heritage practices to dedicated apprentices over the course of 6 to 8 months. Rooted in intensive extended periods of observation and demonstration, conversation and practice, apprenticeships are often a private matter held between the mentor and apprentice. Our virtual showcase provides a unique public-facing window into the collaboration of this year's artist teams. In part one of our showcase, our apprentices in West African balafon, flamenco and son jarocho, qawwali and Hindustani sitar will share the skills and techniques, lessons, experiences, stories, and memories they gained from their mentors while fostering their respective traditions throughout the program. Our first team of the showcase is mentor Abubakar Sila and his apprentice, Forrest Kazayu. Meeting at Austin's Sahara Lounge a handful of years ago, where Forrest saw Abubakar performing during Sahara Lounge's Africa Night, Forrest and Abubakar became friends and musical collaborators shortly thereafter. Abubakar, originally from Guinea, calls Austin his home these days. His membership in Austin's music scene is vital, and his expertise in West African drumming brings him on tour all around the globe. Forrest, originally from Louisiana, also calls Austin his home. He is the drummer and frontman of Kazayu, a band that's become an Austin staple, combining elements of Afrobeat and traditional Bayou music into one package. Abubakar also plays percussion in this band. As a project for the apprenticeship, they proposed studying balafon, a West African percussion instrument, with Abubakar as the mentor and Forrest as the apprentice. This team is a collaborative musical powerhouse. It is easy to see that Forrest's passion for the balafon and West African music, together with his drive as one of Austin's up-and-coming artists, would make him a great candidate to keep the torch burning. It is my pleasure to present to you Abubakar Sila and Forrest Kazayu.
Hey everybody, Marco, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm here on behalf of Abu today. He is caught up in some travel arrangements, so it'll just be me today. And just want to say thank you to Texas Folklife for giving us this wonderful opportunity. Abu and I have been friends, since we met, like he was saying, at Sahara Lounge, and have been playing music together for a while. And I was always very interested in trying to get something on the balafon. He also, teaches me dun, and then also, try to take what I learned and formulate it to the drum set. But the things that we talked about were, I'll step back. I actually had the opportunity to go with Abu to his hometown in Guinea. And that's where I first sort of really fell in love with the sound of the balafon, is when they were playing the wedding parties. And during those weddings, they played 2 rhythms, one called Mane and the other is called Guinea Fare. They're in the same key, but maybe a little bit different tempo. And so that'll be the first thing I'll show you today. This will be Mane. So that one is Mane. This would be Guinea Fare. And that's Guinea Fare. We also went over a rhythm called Las Dan. It was one that he showed me early on in our friendship, and I always wanted to learn it. This one is Las Dan. That is Las Dan. Let's see. I don't know how I'm doing on time. And yeah, just thank you so much to Folklife. Let's see. We also learned a rhythm called Capando. Bando. Let's see. We also went over one called Yankadi. And sorry, that one is actually called Makru. That was not Yankadi. So yeah, that's Makru. Let's see. Uh, I would like to hop on the Dune Dune, maybe show you a little bit what he showed me there. Let's see. Oh. Let's see. So this would be Guinea Ferrari. So yeah, this is just some of the stuff that we did, and we're going to continue to get better at. And I just want to thank everybody at Texas Folk Life. Thank everybody in attendance. I'm Forrest, representing Abubakar Silla. He wishes he could be here and sends his love. And we're going to keep studying forever and ever. Yeah, you want to meet? See.
Thank you, Forrest. That was really great. Sorry, Abu Bakr couldn't be here, but he's here in spirit. Our next apprenticeship team hails from Houston, Texas. Rooted in the practice of Qawwali, a spiritual music from South Asia with roots in Sufi Islam, apprentice Rishab Lamzal brings forth a twist to his proposal with mentor Sunny Mehta. As Nepali is Rishab's mother tongue, he aims to bring the Nepali language through poetry to a tradition predominantly sung in Punjabi and Urdu. Teaming up with star-studded Sunny Mehta as his mentor, they are both able to unite language and music via a common ethnic tie that is based in South Asia. Sunny is an instrumental and influential member of Houston's South Asian community. Having studied Indian classical music for 30 years, Sunny founded the first US based Qawwali ensemble in 2006. Since then, Sunny has given performances at the National Gallery, the Getty, Dartmouth University, and the White House. He has also released 2 albums of original music and has been featured in the Huffington Post, NPR, and New York Times. Sunny couldn't make it today, but he left us a message that we will play later on. Let's give a warm welcome to Rishabh.
Hi everyone, my name is Rishabh and uh, I'm under the apprenticeship of Sunny from Riaz Kawali, who unfortunately could not make it today. I'm a musician who has been singing bhajan his whole life. My mother made me join voice classes when I was 7. My mother believes that bhajans are uh, are a way to connect with the divine. Bhajans are essentially religious songs which are based on hymns and poetry in Hinduism. Uh, and my mother believed that it was one of feasible ways to connect with the divine. And I connected with Sunny through a mutual relationship, and I checked it out, and I got interested in Kawali, and I've been part of the group for, I want to say, a year and a half now, and I have learned some basic information. So through this apprenticeship, my goal was to understand the deeper aesthetic of the Kawali, and uh, how how can I uh, how can I incorporate it into like my own music as well. So as Marco said, I hail from a Nepali community, and Nepali community is predominantly also Hindu community who also sing bhajan as well. So as part of the goal for this apprenticeship, I wanted to record Nepali bhajan in Qawwali style. So in search of so for in order to do that, I needed to find a good bhajan. Good. When I say good, I mean it had to meet certain criterias, such as like Qawwali is usually sung in Qawwali is really aggressive in its tempo, so I could not choose a bhajan that was really slow. So I had to pick I had to meet certain criteria to find a good bhajan. And aside from the this goal, we also had other aspects to the apprenticeship, such as I wanted to improve my hand movements on the harmonium. Harmonium is also another instrument. It is similar to an accordion, but it's more it's a bit bigger. And I wanted to. So I've been playing harmonium as long as I've been singing, and I wanted to improve my hand movements, and that was another part of this apprenticeship. And another part was improving my I did learn. So when I started to learn singing, I had gotten into Hindustani classical music, but I didn't really keep up with it, and that was like almost 10-15 years ago. So I wanted to get back onto it, and Sunny helped me resume that. So since beginning this apprenticeship, we have been focusing on multiple rags such as Bhairavi, Darbari Kannada, and also Rag Bilawal. So and we also focused on other aspects of Qawwali such as Bolbant, Boltan, Surtan, which are various things that make up a Qawwali, right? So uh, yeah, and I think we should listen to Sunny now. Like he has more words for you, and then we can listen to the track that we have worked on.
Sunny, and I'm with Riaz Kavali. I've had the privilege of mentoring Rishabh for the last 6 months within this folk tradition called Qawwali, which stems from South Asia and has its roots in Islam. We've used our time together to explore this tradition, its poetry, and its lyrics, and incorporating in some rags that are often found in this genre, including Rag Bhairavi and Rag Darbari Kannada. We've also spent time looking at the languages that are most often found in this genre, which are Persian, Urdu, and Punjabi. But through our time together, and because Rishabh comes from Nepali as his mother tongue or one of his mother tongues, we've used that to explore how we can incorporate in Nepali and a Nepali bhajan into the Qawwali tradition. So what you'll hear is the first rendition of Nepali being used in the Qawwali musical aesthetic. We hope you enjoy it.
प्रभु जी प्रभु जी प्रभु जी प्रभु जी प्रभु नाम गाऊं प्रभु नाम गाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण वंदे रमाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण वंदे रमाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण वंदे रमाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण वंदे रमाऊं बसी अग्निमा स्वर्ण चमकन च दे रे बसी अग्निमा स्वर्ण चमकन च दे रे फसी मोहमा बढ़ चाह न दे रे फसी मोहमा बढ़ चाह न दे रे फसी मोहमा बढ़ चाह फसी मोहमा फसी मोहमा फसी मोहमा फसी मोहमा फसी मोहमा फसी फसी मोहम्मद संसार है कन्या रे कुमारी कौसुरती जो न करी तत फिर यो तारी फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मा नदी विकराल है कोई न उतरे पार सतगुर के वट साथ लई फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मद सब पादिया कोई सगन निवारे कोई सदगन पार की फिर न तत विचार फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मा फसी मोहम्मा फसी 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 मोह मां बढ़ चान दे रे फसी मोह मां बढ़ चान दे रे फसी अग्नि मां स्वर्ण चमकन दे रे फसी मोह मां बढ़ चान दे रे तसैले प्रभु द्वंद यो बुझ न पाऊं तसैले प्रभु द्वंद यो बुझ न पाऊं सदैव कृष्ण कृष्ण बनी दिन बिताऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण वंदे रमाऊं तन मन वचन ले प्रभु नाम गाऊं हरे कृष्ण वंदे रमाऊं हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
So that was our rendition of Nepali bhajan in Qawwali style. Before end up finish with my time, I wanted to talk about a little bit talk a little bit more about the various aspects of the bhajan that we used. In the middle of the bhajan, I don't know. It's a bit difficult to explain, but there is a usually bhajans don't have that, like where you repeat a line multiple times. That's called a gira in Qawwali. In that gira, artists usually include various of their uh, vocal capabilities, such as boltans or surtans. They're basically improvisations on the voice notes, basically. What I did was, like, I included poetries about. That line that we repeated, "Fasi moha mohama fasi," that means getting stuck in this kind of illusion, and so I had to find poetry in the Hindi language. And the poem is written by Kabir, who is a famous poet from India. The poem is about illusion. So I had to sort of narrow down my. So it is all part of the Qawwali process. So I just wanted to talk about that. I want to thank you for Texas Folklife for giving us this opportunity, and thank you everyone for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishabh and Sunny. That was really great.
Thank you.
Now I would like to introduce apprentice Keri Rosa Cabunok and her mentor Chaito Champion, both from San Antonio. This apprenticeship pair is intriguing in the fact that both members come from very different musical backgrounds, but have found a way to design their lessons so that each person's knowledge was at the forefront of the curriculum. This made for a team that drew no distinction between teaching and learning, which is at the core of a symbiotic and collaborative relationship. As a child with an esteemed flamenco pedigree, Chaito Champion comes from parents that made a long-lasting mark and were influential in maintaining flamenco's popularity in the region, Teresa and Curro Champion. As an adult, she is the authority when it comes to Texan flamenco. She performs regularly in the San Antonio area and globally, and is acclaimed in the international flamenco community as a torchbearer of the Spanish tradition. Kelly Rosa Cabunok's membership in the San Antonio music community is also impressive. She cut her teeth in punk bands, but also kept close to her Mexican roots by studying son jarocho. Today, she is a touring musician in projects that span both of these influences. She also holds the post of executive director at the Conjunto Heritage Taller in San Antonio, where she programs music lessons for children and serves as an influential community member. Please welcome Chaito Champion and Kelly Rosa Cabunok.
Gracias,
Gracias,
Marco.
Marcos.
Saludos. First, we just want to say thank you, muchísimas gracias de todo corazón to the whole team at Texas Folklife. This was an amazing opportunity.
Oh my God.
And, you know, I think coming from folk traditions, there aren't that many opportunities for grants out there. So we're really grateful. Chayito and I, we did some really awesome work together exploring the flamenco, the Spanish roots of son jarocho. You know, son jarocho is this mixture of musics, of culturas, of tradiciones from indigenous Mexico, you know, the enslaved Africans that were taken to Mexico, and then the Spanish. And I had done a lot of research on the indigenous side, and I had done a lot of research on the African side, but I hadn't really done a lot of research on the flamenco, the Spanish side. And so Chaito and I spent a lot of time looking at vocals, vocal techniques, but also what makes flamenco vocals unique and special. And then I was able to start seeing that in son jarocho, seeing those legacies. And I was able to start incorporating more of that style of singing and those rhythms. We spent a lot of time working on palmas. I'm also a percussionist. And so it was this really amazing mentorship where I was not only able to work on, you know, the history and the cultura, which is very important in any folk tradition, any folk music. But also I was able to learn some amazing vocal techniques. You know, Chaito's an amazing vocalist, singer, but she's also a percussionist. And so I was able to learn about that too.
Yeah, I it was amazing how we came together and brought this project together. I was very excited about it. I was told about the Texas Folklife Apprenticeship Program by a flamenco dancer that said, "Why don't you do something with your vocals? That would be amazing." And get together with another artist or a student that you may want to teach. Well, we did another project together apart from being mixing the two, but we thought, Kelly said, you know, why don't we do this? And I was like, okay, let's try. But I learned so much, and I'm doing a production called Flamex, where I'm going to take the Mexican Veracruz dances and music and songs and fuse, not really fuse, but show how the influence of the Spanish dance and the Spanish conquest changed the music and the dances and their dress attire for the villagers and the Indians that were in that area. So it was like, this is the beginning of something that's going to be bigger on stage with dancers, musicians of flamenco and
I think that's something really cool that this program sort of helped us do. You know, Chaita was already going to do this project. It's this beautiful project. She wants to tell a story through music and dance, live music, and dance. And you know, as we started talking and through this apprenticeship, we were like, hey, I play music from Veracruz. And so we're really looking forward to continuing our working relationship. And we also got to spend a lot of time, you know, we both work in the nonprofit world.
Right.
And it was really awesome to have conversations about the things that matter in both of our culturas and traditions. Right. You know, we talked about the power that music and cultura and dance has with the youth and young people. Right. And, you know, the big vision that Chaito has for not just a dance after school program, but where the kids get fed and they get homework help. And so, you know, I think we're both not just artists. I mean, Chaito's an amazing, internationally renowned artist, but we're all both very community-based and community-oriented. And we can't really separate our work from that. And I think something else that was really cool, we realized that both of our musical traditions are very familia.
Very familia.
Things that get passed down through familias, you know, and it was pretty awesome to finally understand certain traditions or certain things in son jarocho that I didn't know where they came from. And, you know, it was really awesome to just be able to be two brown women, you know, Mexican American women from I'm from Southern California. I've made called San Antonio my home for 10 years now. And just to be able to have a space to create and to play music and to explore, you know, like Marco said, to kind of explore together. And
I learned a lot. Oh my gosh, I learned so much. I was like, wow.
And you know,
So-
it's really awesome too, because since we're both, you know, really invested in our own folk tradition, when we would come together, just these amazing things would happen naturally, right? Like organically. And that was something that I think neither of us were expecting.
Yeah.
And so, see, we have like 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and play a little something for y'all. We think we want to share it with you. So when we first got together and we did a lot of talking, and I learned a lot about, you know, the rhythms, we realized that el fandango is something that's very important in both of our folk traditions, but it's something that changed when it got to Veracruz. And so we took this son, it's called El Fandanguito, and we did like a cool flamenco son remix. And, you know, I think it was really fun to just kind of try it once and then see kind of where it went. So from the south side of San Antonio, we hope y'all enjoy. This is called El Fandanguito. Si el fandanguito no fuera causa de mi perdición, causa de mi perdición, si el fandanguito no fuera.
Ay, ay, este fandango, ay, que yo te canto. Ay, ay,
Una carta te escribiera con sangre del corazón, con sangre del corazón, ay, si Dios me lo concediera.
ay, lere, 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 ay, ay, anoche soñé, ay, soñé contigo y en el sueño fuiste mío, fuiste mío.
Ay, a remar, marinero, el que no rema no gana dinero. Ay, a remar por el río, el que no rema no gana navío.
Venga ya, onza, te toma, vamos, eso, ale, ale, que toma, ay, lere, lere, ay, lere, lere, ay, lere, lere, la, 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 este fandango que yo te canto, que yo te canto para bailar.
Llorando agarra la pluma y llorando te escribía, y llorando te escribía, llorando agarra la pluma. Si algunos borrones llevan, no me echen la culpa a mí, no. Son lágrimas que cayeron cuando me acordé de ti. Ay, que te quiero, ay, que te quiero nada más, porque te tengas el uso de España. Ay, que te quiero, ay, que te quiero decir.
Eso.
So that's just a little something that we have been working on. And, I think something that's really cool or really chingona about Chaito and myself is we are both touring, working full-time musicians as well.
Yes.
So you can catch Chaito multiple venues every weekend playing, this traditional flamenco music. And one thing I learned is you always need a singer for flamenco.
Oh, yes.
You can't have no bailes. You could not, maybe the guitar player didn't show up. That's okay. But you always need a singer and a dancer. And that is something that is right there with Son Jarocho. You always need the tarima. You could have a bunch of jarana players, which is the instrument I played, but without that dancing, it's nothing. I think as a younger musician, right? I'm in my 30s. I think it's really cool that, as Marco said, I am in a punk band. If you're in Austin, catch Piñata Protest with the amazing Mad Caddies tonight. But it's been really cool to be able to walk in both of those worlds, right? Of being
Totally
able
awesome.
to come and play traditional folk music. And I paid my dues and I took the time to learn it really well and be in the presence of greatness with maestras like Chaito.
Gracias.
But then be able to go get on stage and play some punk music, and I think that's a lot of fun.
That's what was fun about this for me as a mentor, that I was able to have fun doing something different that I don't always do. And I learned a lot from you. I really did, not only as a musician, but as una mujer fuerte. And she brought a lot of good knowledge to me. So, I mean, as an apprenticeship program, the apprentice has sometimes switched to being mentors, and then we switch back, and then we switch back. And that's the beautiful thing about your program, that this apprenticeship program, the Texas Folklife, gives that to each of the persons that are involved. We both get to be a mentor at one point and then an apprentice at another. And that's what happened with us. And I think that's great.
It's really cool too, because it's something that we understand each other in a way that other, women don't. We know what it's like to go on tour with a bunch of boys, or we know what it's like to be, the mujer on stage with a group of men musicians
always happens
behind you, and what it's like to have to be powerful and to command a stage like that. Chaito does a lot of solo work, and that's something I've just recently started doing. And so asking all those questions, like how do you get the nerves out, and all the tricks for how do you keep your voice on a 3-week tour, on an international tour, right? What are these tricks? And I think that's something, when we applied for the grant, we were like, there's so many amazing folk musicians all over Texas. A ver qué pasa. And we were so grateful and excited when we got it. But it was, there was so much more that I was not expecting or anticipating.
Me too.
And we also both feel like it was like the beginning of something, like the little jump start to some amazing things to come.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Yes, gracias. Mil gracias.
De todo corazón.
De todo.
And I think we're about out of time.
Thank you, Chaito and Kelly Rosa. And don't break a leg on stage tonight, Kelly.
Come catch me do it. You'll see like the total switch from like bluesita and like bien acá mexicana, and then you'll see me like spinning crazy, but still with the traditional Latin instrument, which is the güiro.
Nice.
But it's been awesome touring with the Mad Caddies. I grew up really listening to them, and I think for all the little folk musicians out there, dream big, because you never know when your folk music can take you into different genres, into different arenas, different stages. And so if you just like stick with it, you can do amazing things.
That's a good point. And thank you once again for being here. Before introducing our final showcase apprenticeship team of part 1, we would like to thank the Texas Commission on the Arts, a close and vital partner of Texas Folklife, who helps make the apprenticeship program possible. Texas Folklife's apprenticeship program is also made possible by a state partnership award from the National Endowment for the Arts in partnership with the Texas Commission on the Arts and support from the board and members of Texas Folklife. Additional support is provided by the Cultural Arts Division of the City of Austin Economic Development Department, Arts Council Wichita Falls, and the Indigenous Cultures Institute. We would also like to extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation to Texas Folklife's Folk Saint members for making this program possible. If you are interested in applying for or would like more information about the apprenticeship program, please contact me, Marco Guarino, at the email is apprenticeships@texasfolklife.org, or fill out an interest form online. Please consider supporting the apprenticeship program directly by making a tax-deductible donation to Texas Folklife, clicking the donate button on our homepage and texasfolklife.org. For more dynamic folk and traditional arts programming and initiatives, you can again visit texasfolklife.org and tap those like and subscribe buttons on social media channels. So now I am thrilled to introduce our final artist of part one, apprenticeship art team, Milton Holbrook from San Antonio, and his partner Indrajit Banerjee. Through this apprenticeship with Indrajit, Milton has been honing his Hindustani Indian sitar playing with mentor Indrajit from Austin. Milton has been playing sitar for a handful of years now and has advanced tremendously, thanks to his frequent meetings with Indrajit, a world-renowned sitar player. Milton divides his time between playing sitar and running a tattoo shop in San Antonio. These two practices are evidence that Milton is a very creative person and enjoys having various mediums of expression. Although Milton is relatively new to the sitar, he has always found ways to musically express himself, previously through drums or piano. He found his ultimate voice, however, in the sitar. Indrajit Banerjee, his mentor, has been playing sitar for many years now, studying in India and London, and eventually finding a musical community he can connect with and support in Austin, Texas, by way of his various trips throughout the years as a touring musician. Although Indrajit plays and teaches traditional Hindustani sitar, he is actually quite avant-garde when he is on stage. He regularly performs at Austin's Sahara Lounge with his own project when he's in town, in which he plugs in a sitar to various guitar pedals and an amplifier, which adds another dimension of ethereal soundscape heaven to an already trance-inducing instrument. As a result, Indrajit rides the fine line between traditional and modern, between recognizing roots and recognizing the frontier, and that is an exciting place to be. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Indrajit Banerjee and Milton Holbrook.
Namaste. Thank you, Marco, and all the crew and Texas Folklife. As you know, that word cease when music starts. We do have many things to say, but we'll start with a piece. It's a very pentatonic scale, Sare Mapa Nisa, we call in Indian connotation, Sargam. So he will now play this raga Me, which is our project. We took up 4 seasonal ragas from India, for the monsoon, for the winter, for the spring, for the summer. So this is for the rainy season. Megh means clouds. Now he's going to present you the Aro Navaran, we call, of a raga, and then a small alap where the raga unfolds. There is no percussion or anything there. And then he's going to play a composition set to Teen Tal. It has 16 beats, very traditional tal. It's a double of a da, 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 like that, 16-beat cycle. And I'm going to provide him tabla accompaniment today. And enjoy Rag Meg, Arab, and a Madhyala and medium tempo composition. Then he's going to talk about his experience about this unique apprenticeship. Wow, very nice. Over to you.
Next one.
Well, I mean, would you like to share something?
Um,
Any questions? Or we continue playing? We have, how about Rag Bahar? This is a spring raga. Would you like to say anything?
I just like to play it.
Okay. But can you give this? Okay. Good. Bahar, huh? Very nice. That was a spring raga. Now you say something. I would say, huh? Would you like to share something about this project? What do you think about when you came to me and now that you can, I think he's playing these ragas quite at the professional level, because the ragas that he's going to play right now is basant, which few professional players even don't attempt to play. Um, so I think he has done quite a considerable improvement in my assessment, and you are the final judge and the panel will decide. But it's a very unique, nice project, because he would have just learned ragas in its own pace. But in this short time, intensive training, we have spent around 45 hours on lessons and preparing for this. And now he has a 45 minutes repertoire anytime he has an audience. He also we played a live recital. When was that?
So I think it was about a month ago.
In San Antonio.
In San Antonio.
With lots of artists and Indian dancers.
Kathak dancers. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then we are playing another recital where my school and partly sponsored by Texas Folklife, that is in Lockhart. We are inviting Pandit Tarun Bhattacharya, the legendary santoor player who worked with Ravi Shankar ji, Pandit Ravi Shankar. So his recital, and then he's going to present his project, and then we will have a full-blown recital by this invited touring artist. So this is, he's going to carry it on. But he prefers to play all his pieces that he has prepared in a nutshell. Thank you once again, Milton. So this is Rag Basant, which is a very typical scale from India. Sa ni re ga ma da sa da pa ma re. Then the change. Sa ga ma da sa. A very special scale. He's going to present you a gut on 16 beats in this tal madhya. Let's do that, huh? You have a komal and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Komal dha? Here we go. now there is a final piece, which is Rag Hemant. It's a very interesting scale because it's composed of uh, all the natural notes like sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. But in a raga system, you omit a few notes. In the Arahan, which is the ascending of a scale and descending, you have certain number of notes. So it'll be very nice to see how this is Rag Heman. This is a season that comes before winter. Rag Heman. It's on that season. He's going to provide a composition, play a composition for us, and in this, he's featuring the question answer, which is an exciting thing we do with dancers in Indian music, as well as tabla and sitar, question and answer at the end, and the jhala, very exciting part where you play all the chikaris, the strumming strings, right?
Mhm.
So, can you just tell, show the jhala, like the strumming strings, what you have in sitar? So we make rhythms out of those. Very cool. And this rag, the arohan, omitting the re and the pa. So then, sani dhava mangala. Once again, sa dha ma dha ni sa sa ni dha pa dha ni sa. Okay, rag hemant here.
Thank you, Indrajit, and thank you, Milton. That was really good. So now we will have a panel discussion led by our panelist, Vicky Mogollon Montan. Vicky is a PhD candidate in ethnomusicology at the University of Texas in Austin. Her dissertation explores the convergences among music, sound, and violence in the lives of espiritistas, marialionceros, which are religious practitioners, and Afro-Venezuelan tambor musicians in contemporary Caracas. Her work advances a Caribbeanist perspective within Venezuelan studies through the lens of affect theory, sensory, ethnography, and sound studies. She holds a BA in music and a minor in Italian from the University of Denver and an MMUS in advanced musical studies from Royal Holloway University of London. At UT Austin, she worked as an assistant instructor and teaching assistant for several courses in the Butler School of Music, and she was also an assistant editor for the Latin American Music Review, as well as an editorial assistant for Sound Studies, an interdisciplinary journal. As Latino Museum Studies Program Fellow at the Smithsonian, Vicky created Queens of Latin Music, a free online accompanying material for the Entertainment Nation exhibit at NMAH. Thank you, Vicky, for being here. I will leave the floor to you for our panel discussion.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Thanks, Texas Folklife, for the invitation. And I also, first of all, want to thank all of the participants for this first session, for their generosity in sharing their musical practices, everything that you've learned, and for being open to having this discussion and having people learn a little bit more about the process of learning, and also expose us to maybe styles of music, instruments that we might have not even heard before. I also want to congratulate you, all of you, on having the initiative to do this program, which I think is extremely important for several reasons, and I want to perhaps mention three of them. I'm sorry if I look down into my notes. I just want to make sure I thorough. So number one, I think that because of your practice and what you do, you show us that the state of Texas is not as homogeneous as people might think from the outside. That there are many communities living here, that many artistic practices happening here, and you show us not only that they exist, but that they're thriving. There's still a lot that we could do to keep them alive and keep the vibrancy of that. But thank you for being part of that, and just the fact that you participate in this program shows everyone and dispels that myth. Number two, it's interesting to have a conversation with you, because when most people think about musicians, we see you when you're performing, when you're in stage, the big shows, the festivals, but we don't really know much about how did you get there? How did you learn to do what you do? And I think that continuous transmission of knowledge and techniques are very connected and depend on a close human relationship, which is what you have cultivated with your mentors. And lastly, I think that there's also in your work of working with the community, working with one another, there's the potential for the cultivation of a curious and respectful audience, and for expanding this network, not only in terms of who is playing, but also who is listening. That's also an important question, right, for us as artists. So before we get into the more musical aspects, let me ask you a non-musical question, and this is for everybody. what are some, maybe one or two of the most memorable non-musical lessons that you learned from this experience?
Who's first?
I'll go ahead and start. Something I wasn't expecting to learn was, and I talked a little bit about it in our little session, but I didn't realize how much we would talk about just what it was like to be a woman and a brown woman in the music scene as an artist. What is that like touring? What is it like just advocating for yourself? Right. Chaito has been in the business decades, and I learned so much in these conversations that we were having that I really wasn't expecting. We got into these really deep conversations about standing up for yourself and respecting your art and your tradition. But what does that look like as a woman? And what does that look like when you're a woman in a male dominated scene? And talking about those things is something, there's not very many female musicians anyway. And then there's not very many brown female musicians. And then you add the folk part to it, right? And so it was really, honestly, it was this sort of learning, healing space that where we were able to have these conversations and understand each other in a way that most people don't.
Yeah, that's the same way I feel. Like it was, there were things that I hadn't realized about myself that she brought up about me, and I was like, really, but and where I stand and what the measures are of what we're doing, and it's like, wow, it never. She sparked me and made me. That's why I said at one point you become a mentor, and then at one point you become an apprentice, and I was learning. Okay, brown woman, yeah, a musician. I'm always surrounded. All the musicians I work with are male. I'm always the only female with the musicians. So I got to hear a lot of good stories.
We got like go
that other women probably would never hear
or understand.
Yeah, because I hadn't realized that until she brought it up. I was like, that's right. That's right. You're right. I'm always musicians over here and the flamenco dancers over here. So the women are always over here, and I'm always with the male. And it was, we talked about that, which I had never thought about. How to be stronger, how to be more productive and wise with my time. And I learned a lot. I was like, wow, because I take my music for granted sometimes because I was born into it. I was born into a family of flamenco artists. So all my life, I heard this music and I did it. So it's just like, for me, it doesn't, nothing else. It's just like family. And it's like, this is what we do and this is how we do it. And it was passed on, and I pass it on to my children. So, and my grandchildren. So it's kind of like that was the most that I got from it, that I love that part of it, of being able to sit as women and talk about who we are as female musician and brown women, and being mujeres fuertes, and trying to carry what we do in a proud way.
Because we're also both small. We're like 5'0", 5'1", right? And so how do we Chaito is this force on stage, but she's also this force in the community, right? Like she commands a presence on stage, and it was nice to be able to talk to a living legend about that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And in many of these different traditions, when we do see women, we see them either dancing or singing, not necessarily playing, right? So it was very interesting that you were playing and you guys were collaborating, and just the idea of having a partnership between the two of you in itself is a very strong idea. And we're excited to hear that it felt that way for you, right? And that you were able to cultivate that and be aware of that. What about some other non-musical lessons from other participants?
With the last show, that was inspired by everything that I've been learning through Folklife. Indrajith had me find the venue or do a lot of the organizing. And I'm a very introverted person, so it's really helped me see the importance of being more social to survive and network as an artist, but also to do stuff like this. And I didn't know there were so many amazing people in my own town that I don't know of. Just seeing some of y'all. So the social aspect and organizing, and then also the level of integration that we've achieved. We're doing class once every 2 weeks, and then we started doing class every Monday. So every Monday I drive to Austin to come do my sitar class with Indrajith, and with practicing at home, and just the new level of how to integrate music into my life to an even deeper and deeper level than I thought I was at has been really amazing. And that was the only way I was going to get, to learn these four ragas in time, was to do some really intense practice. But then now that kind of seems like normal practice. But at first it was really intense. So I'm very thankful.
That's a great point that you're bringing about, because so much of being a musician, quote unquote, of the 21st century is doing a lot of things that are not related to learning and playing, right? Booking, advertisement, all of that. So it's very interesting that you mentioned this for people who are not musicians, who might not be aware that musicians take care of all these things, right? And that artists have to learn a little bit of everything to survive. And Rishab, in some of your materials, you mentioned video editing, that was an important skill for you. Can you tell us more about what you learned there?
One of my main aspects, the Nepali bhajan, that was our vision for me and Sunny, before we even applied for the apprenticeship. And this apprenticeship gave us an opportunity, right? So we wanted to do this. And at that moment, I was trying to increase my skill set as well. And uh, video these days is like, it's pretty much used anywhere, and especially with music, like music videos, or even like live stage performances. Even those include some kind of like uh, a certain amount of editing, like they like certain amount of lighting and whatever, right? So I wanted to have that kind of skill set in my mind, and be prepared for if I am going for this direction, like have have it in my arsenal in case I need to use it, basically. Uh, I focused on, primarily I was looking at multiple softwares. So I was looking at DaVinci, which is a really high grade professional software, and I was also looking at Adobe Premiere. And Sunny recommended that I should focus on Adobe Premiere because that is more beginner friendly, and it's also skills into more professional career as well, compared to DaVinci, which is more focused on professional. So uh, I took chances on Adobe Premiere, and yeah, it works pretty well. And I would have had a video ready for today, but we just didn't have time, like, sadly enough. So
Yeah, it's a process and it takes time.
yeah.
It's great to hear about all the different skills that you're cultivating outside of music. And Forrest, I bet that going to Africa and seeing Abu's hometown was an experience. So do you want to share more about how that came about and what it was like being there?
Sure, I'd love to share. Thanks for asking. Yeah, it was through the way I came up in small town Louisiana, like kind of a swampy area, that kind of Cajun culture, and then just having the opportunity to see Abu perform. And my main instrument is drum set, so seeing Abu perform his music for the first time, it was like immediately I was like, wow, I need to learn about what that is, because you just feel it so deep, especially in the drumming world. It's like that was sort of like the beginning of a lot of the rhythms and everything. But just meeting Abu and having the chance, I mean, he sort of offers that as a something, you know, if anybody's ever interested, he could take students to Africa. But yeah, I mean, we did a few lessons here in America when we first met, and then sort of kind of continued to study together. And then it just kind of came up. All right, he's going back home for you know, certain amount of months. Do you want to come check it out? I was like, well, I don't know if I can say no to that. You know, of course, you know, and just being there, uh, it's a completely different world than I could ever imagine. And just knowing that some people, you know, they work very hard just to survive and have a smile on their face. And then it was just an amazing experience to kind of see what the music does for the community and how sort of life operates there, you know, and seeing how Abu sort of operated there. If you want to say non-musical, it's just kind of saying that if we musicians, and it's a grind, and it always is a grind, and it's like to go and hop on the back of a motorcycle with Abu to go into this gig playing folk music for weddings all over the city. It's just like, okay, that's the grind. I mean, that's music, you know, that's a musician through and through, you know. And so that experience was amazing. And uh, we still, once I got back home, we still continued to study. And then the Folklife apprenticeship opportunity kind of came upon us. And, you know, it's been great to like really uh, work hard at seeking the knowledge or seeking out the knowledge and then trying to do the time and put the practice in and really, you know, try to kind of, you know, learn it and make it come to life in your own sense. So, but thank you for asking that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and talking about, you know, making it alive in your own way, I want to hear from everybody about what are your goals, or did you have some goals when you started and they changed, you know, throughout the program? I know that some of you want to learn this so that you could work with youth programs. Some of you want to incorporate into other types of music making that you were already familiar with. So when you embarked on this program, what were your ideas? What did you want to have at the end of it?
Yes. Eight also. Sahara Lodge. Terrible. You want to say something?
Yeah. My goals are just to, you know, I would love to continue to deepen my knowledge of Hindustani classical music and to be able to perform and share that with people. Because like myself, I just wasn't exposed to it, and as soon as I was, like so many genres of music, there's a primal thing in all of these that regardless if you grew up in the culture, you get connected, and I love sharing that with people. And I would, of course, love to do fusion music as well, like my teacher does, because so much of this is harmonious together and can overlap. And with all of, you know, like the people that are here today, so many of us are so multicultural and have so many layers, and all of this stuff can work together. And I would love to do more classical projects, but also projects where different cultures mix.
For me, I think, you know, one of the biggest goals was I just really wanted to learn. I think there are very few opportunities for folk musicians to have one-on-one time like this. You know, when I was learning Son Carocho, I had to, you know, put the bill my own. I had to buy plane tickets to Mexico. How would I, you know, how was I going to live down there? Of course, I always wanted to offer something as humble as it was. So I was really excited to just learn. You know, one of my biggest goals was to be a better singer. I'm a self-taught singer. I don't really, you know, I think with a lot of folk traditions, we learn in comunidad, we learn, you know, there's not like a music book. You kind of learn, being, like Chaito was saying, growing up and in the cultura, it's just always there. And so one of my big goals was learning some music vocal techniques, right? And Chaito's such an amazing vocalist. And another goal I had was just to work in collective. I really wanted, I love as an artist working in collective. And this was a really unique opportunity to, I work in collective all the time with punks and with rock musicians. But this was a really great opportunity to work with a folk artist in collaboration and in collective. And, it's been really awesome to kind of accomplish all of those goals and so many more that I didn't even realize that, I was going to have. And just, the one-on-one time, that this apprenticeship affords is really, important as a musician, I think, right? Especially folk music is so intricate. It's not just, you buy a music book and you learn the music. There's all of these, nuances and all of these different things that go into it. And so having one-on-one time where I can just ask all the questions and we can have all those conversations, that was something, that was a goal too.
Yeah. My goal was that that I would be able to fuse a little bit or bring out the flamenco that was in there in the jarocho music and vice versa, and and then see if it works so that this flamex that I'm doing in March of 2024 that would work. And I was like, okay, let's see if this works. And
Like a testing
it was like a
ground.
testing ground for me without even knowing it. When she brought the, what is
El
it?
fandanguito de jarana.
Jarana, and we did it. I was like, wow, this can work. This can. So my goal was to bring my music and her music together and see if it was if it made if it could work, if it was something that we could do. And it really, and it, I loved it.
It
I
worked
just, I
so
was
much
so
fun.
excited.
There was this moment where we were like, let's try it. Here we go. A ver qué
Yes,
pasa.
we were like,
Let's see what happens. And I think, that was another really awesome experience, because in order to make those fusions work, in order to make those collaborations work,
Right.
you really have to be well versed in your own music, in your own tradition,
have to
right?
master it.
And practicing those
Yeah.
vocal techniques and the palmas, getting the sound just right, it was cool to learn something new that was still related to.
And that was one of the things, just try to stay in that 12 count with what she was playing.
And like hearing it differently, right? Because I don't hear son in a 12 count. I hear it in a 4 count, or a 6/8 count, right? And so being able to now hear this different rhythm that was there the whole time, I didn't know it, was really cool too. Like we got to discover a lot of things, like, oh, look, this fits here and that fits there, and the vocals fit like this. And that was something that was really cool to kind of watch organically unfold.
And Milton, I just want to say that I would love one day to fuse with that sitar. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I would love to. Please.
We've been saying
because flamenco, they say, came from India, and so some of the flamencologists, they always say, that's where it originated. So when I hear y'all's music, I just,
Yes, I would love to.
That's a deal.
Ya dijiste.
I see some future collaborations already getting structured here. And I think it's super interesting because, some scholars, people who study this music, have called it the fandango complex. Not only flamenco, son jarocho, but also other musics, from Colombia and Venezuela that are closely intertwined, right? And what you're doing in your practice is so very interesting because this idea of what are the resonances between these two genres is historical. It's historical work that you're doing, right? And trying to see how different, what remains, what is changed, and all those cultural processes that people endure, and so does music. So
Wow.
yeah, Forrest, I was thinking that you're a professional musician in Austin. You have your own band, your own projects, and I was wondering, did you want to take maybe balafon styles or particular rhythms into the drum set, into the music that you play? And if so, why? And how do you think it fits with what you do?
I guess the short answer would be yes. With what I do, I'm a drummer here in town, and I've, played with different people, but just recently had the idea of kind of making my own sort of, or bringing a new group of people together. And Abu was definitely a part of that, as far as people to play with. And the balafon, like when I went to Africa and saw the way that they set up and play for the weddings and everything, I just thought it was such a beautiful sound. And as far as drumming, I guess West African drumming is just sort of the, in my opinion, or, definitely one of the top echelons of, cultures of people that have just had the drums for thousands of years, and which are other cultures as well. But, the West African, especially from Guinea, as a drummer, it's like a dream to feel these rhythms and hear these rhythms. And, as far as fusing it into what I was doing, it wasn't really like a thing that I thought, oh, okay, let's, make this type of music that's automatically fused like my style and your style. It was sort of just finding the right people, and just getting it all in a room together and improvising until, okay, and we all kind of have a discussion and create and collaborate as a whole. And yeah, it's a big band. It's 9 people. So, and it's 9 musicians that I respect 100% all the way, their opinions and their ears. And Abu, especially him as well, he steps in and it helps out as a leader. So he brings his music, and I learned the rhythms. That way we could sort of better understand each other and make whatever music that we make happen in the moment happen, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense, or I might be just rambling now, but
No, I think that
I
makes
think that
total
makes total
sense.
sense.
And
And
this possibility for exploration that Kelly and Chayito were also talking about is like a connecting thread here. And that potential collaboration with also Milton and Indrajit, right? This is what it's about. But besides the aesthetics and the techniques and all the kind of hard skills that it takes to learn this music, Rishab, your musical background and also Kuwali music, it has a devotional focus to it. So was this also part of the goal to explore that side of it, or just to learn more about it?
It was definitely a part of it, right? Because I come from a really religious background. Kavali is also essentially a prayer to the divine, right? So I sort of connected with that theme, right? And it was definitely part of it. And other than that, like, music itself is also really interesting. What brought me to like it in the first place, what got me attracted to it, what made me connect with Sunny and be part of their group. So yeah.
Great. And then another question for everybody. Why is the type of music that you learn important to you personally? Why do you think it's important for your community? And maybe tell us, what are some of the simplifications or the misunderstandings around this tradition that you would like people to um, know more about, be more informed, and have a better sense of what it's like?
So for me, son jarocho is this resistance music, right? It survived colonization, it survived La Santa Inquisición, the Holy Inquisition, it survived U.S. imperialism. and it continues to thrive. And it really is this, it's important because it tells a narrative that was erased, right? It tells the story of a people that were resilient. It tells a story of people that came, from Africa as enslaved people. It tells the story of Mexican indigenous people. It tells the story of, Spain, and not just the colonizers, but all of the working people that came from Spain. And then it tells the story of how they all became one people, right? How these culturas mixed together. And when I was in grad school, this music, I wrote my whole thesis about it, and it's important. It's a connection to our cultura. Here in South Texas, they intentionally have erased the narratives of Latinos, of Mexican Americans, and I think this music, both son jarocho and flamenco, they create this sort of link to our history, to our past. For a lot of Mexican Americans, it's a way to connect to a cultura, to an identity. This was all Mexico. Yeah. At one time here in Texas, and they, they took a lot. They took cultura, they took land, and I think music can be a way to not only explore, the atrocities in our history, but also a way to heal, a way to connect. And for both Chayito and I, music is a tool to keep our young people safe, to keep them out of trouble, to keep them off of drugs, right? Like, let's just be real. We have a really
creative release for them.
Right. We have a really bad, our kids are facing a really tough reality, right? Some of them live in the neighborhoods that are low income, underserved, and music is not just a safe space to explore, but to release creative energies. And that's something that Chaito and I are very invested in, right? Is this music tradition that, and it sounds so cliche, but it could save a child's life. It saved my life, right? Growing up first gen, I saw a lot of my cousins go into gangs or just make choices that were not the best. And Cultura helped me stay on track. Cultura has helped us travel the world as mujeres, as proud Mexican American women. And I think that is really important, that cultura be connected to our music. You can't disconnect it from our folk music. And I think, all of these folk traditions are very, as I'm listening to our colleagues, everyone's talking about this connection to something, right? Forrest was talking about the feeling of watching these gigs and how they're different in Africa. And I think music is a safe place to tell those stories and to explore. And it, I love punk and I love rock and I love hip hop and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have those historical, cultural connections, these tradiciones, right? It's how we keep our tradiciones alive. It's how we tell our stories, how we keep our narratives alive. And so, for Chaito and I, music is a very powerful tool in terms of comunidad, community, education, empowerment, right? To share our cultura with the world. And I think you asked about stereotypes. I think folk music often gets a bad rap, right? It's easy. No, it's actually really hard. There's all these weird rhythms that don't make sense with Western music. And also the stereotype of it being I don't know, poor people music or immigrant music or old people, right? Old school. Yeah. And Chaito and I are both really invested in shattering those stereotypes and creating, new, hey kids, this music is cool, or hey, you can do cool stuff with this music. You could go to school, you can, so yeah.
My whole thing is just keeping the art of flamenco in its pure form. There's a lot of other singers, dancers, musicians that have fused into the modern or more jazzy kind of flamenco, and it's wonderful. So that I see, okay, that's what they want to do, but what I want to do is just keep it in its pure form. The way it was and has been, and we don't want to lose that tradition. And that's why I want to have this school where we want to teach the children in its original and pure form. And then if they move on and they want to fuse it with something else, that's great. But at least they have the basis of what flamenco really is, and then move on with it. And I want to keep it alive. I just really do, because it's something that was given to me. And I feel that I have that responsibility to keep this legacy going that my family has given San Antonio. So I make sure that I spread the word and I take it different places. I mean, in Austin, there's majority of the dancers there started with my mother, and then they moved on and opened up a studio, and now they have students. And so I've seen the branches of my mother's humongous tree of a tree just go everywhere. And I'm saying everywhere, like in Canada, in Spain itself, in California, all over the United States. And it's like, okay, then I'm responsible to keep this legacy going and keeping it growing within my family and out. Because either the child that we service or work with is going to be an artist, or they're going to be our future audience. And when they go to see the shows, they're going to understand what's going on. They'll have the respect that they should for the artist and for the art that they're watching, whichever art it is. I want them to understand the hours and the sacrifices that we make as musicians, because people tell me, wait a minute, that's all you do? You don't have a day job? And I'm like, no, I don't.
This is my day job.
This is my day job. And like you said earlier, it takes a lot of time, because if I'm not singing, I'm making posters, promoting, making sure that the venues and where are my dancers going, what are we at, all those things. It's a full day. The people think you just go. I was told by someone that, oh, that's easy money. You just get up there and you sing a song and they pay you. And I'm like, excuse me, you know how long it took to learn that song and to put it together and present it and have that strength to go on stage amongst all these people and sing or dance or play an instrument, not knowing what the reaction's going to be. That takes a lot of guts. It really does. And when people tell me, hey, you just go up there and sing and they pay you, I'm like, what? No. You know how many years it took to get where I'm
My
at
whole
right
life.
now? So I understand that when I see musicians, I don't care what type of music it is. My son decided he plays the upright bass. He wanted to be in a rockabilly band. I thought, all right, okay. And I go hear them and I clap and I just admire that they're doing it. Whatever kind of music or genre it is, we have to keep it alive. We have to keep it going. We have to, and that's how I feel at. That's why I keep doing it. And many times I have gone with no money in the bank and no money in my pockets, because there's no work. There's no work. And then all of a sudden I have all this work and everybody wants you on the same day, right? So you can only take one gig. So, I mean, those are sacrifices that we make as musicians, and we have sometimes, some of us have to have a day job. There's just no way you can survive.
Or two.
Yeah, or two. And to be able to do what you really love, because I tell everybody and all the children, anybody I talk to, just do what you love to do. Don't spend, all your life in an office that you never liked doing, and you were an artist, visual artist, a literary artist, a dancer, a singer. Do it. Just do it. I work with seniors at this time, and some of them have the saddest stories, because they worked doing something, their father said, and their mother said, no, you're going to work civil service. You're going to have a check and a retirement check, and you're not going to do dancing, or you're not going to be an artist, and you're not going to sing, even though they had beautiful, beautiful talent. So that's why I want to keep passing it on and passing it on. But like I said, either they're artists or they're our future our audience. So that's how I see it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Milton, Indrajit?
Yes, Milton will say, he talked about his experience, and I would like to thank you all for being here and get connected. When I was an artist coming from India, I never actually taught in India. I just played either session or concert. I just didn't have patience to teach. But when I came here, I started teaching because when I come here, I was a touring artist, but when I stay in US, I'm not a touring artist. So the tours that happen, it was hard for me to get those, So I started teaching and expanding my horizon. And, you know, uh, for that, I would say now that I have a batch of students, I've been teaching for the last 15 years, been in Austin 16 years. And I play, travel, and I teach. But I take teaching as a regular, job for me. And I teach different places, and I have a lot of students that are earning playing sitar, which I love to hear. Now Milton is there. If somebody is specially looking for me for some concert, I can go. But Milton is there to serve the community of San Antonio. So he will learn traditional ragas, the discipline of music, as she was pointing out. It's very important to learn the hardcore classical discipline because that's a discipline. I tell myself when I don't play classical concerts and I play, fusion or I jam, I lose, my intellect a little bit to my own thing. So I come back and I practice because I have to go back to that level. So it's good, because if I am left with somebody to converse, then language is not a barrier. Music can do that. But, you know, he will serve. That is a great thing we achieved. What he achieved for the Texas folk life, this thing that we had intensive learning and practice sessions that we couldn't have had without this support. So many hours thinking of this, and now he can, expand his horizon and take this to a different level. So it's a very nice thing, and Austin offers this. And Austin, there are so many good avenues. I never realized I was a very close traditionalist when I used to go back to India after tours. When I lived here, I used to go, and I play with Abu. I'm in the same band. I play with Jose Manuel Tierra, who plays flamenco, and we are in the same band. And so this is a good thing. We go and listen to different music, and our minds open. So it's a very nice what we call in Bengali adan pradan. That is, something is coming from him and something is going towards him from me. So it's a joy to see all of you perform so nicely, and my regards to everybody.
Yes, it has been a pleasure to hear all the music that you're making, to hear your reflections, your experiences, and congratulations once again for being part of this program. Please stay in the network. We definitely want to keep hearing from you, and I know that we will. Invite us to your concerts. Don't forget about us. Um, and just looking ahead, I see a very bright future for the music that you are invested in, and also for the transmission and all the learning that you've been putting in, and that you will become perhaps a mentor for the next generation, and we can continue replicating this model for future generations. Thank you so much again for being here. Thanks, Texas Folk Life, for the apprenticeship program. And now Marco will wrap it up for us.
For the panel. It was a great panel. And thank you to each of the artists who presented today. We really enjoyed getting to know you and learning about your work over the course of the program. And thank you to Ben Doyle of Ben Productions for his technical assistance for this broadcast. We have part 2 coming up at 4 p.m. So stick around and catch you later.